Hi, and welcome to Talkward. I'm Marty Dundix, editor-in-chief of Weekly Humorous Magazine, and this is Talkward, a fun little podcast where professionally funny people come to tell awkward and cringeworthy stories. I'm very excited about today's guest because he's a repeat guest, and we haven't done this podcast in a little bit, and this is the first episode of a new hot season of Talkward. I'm pleased to welcome Mike Sachs. I have a fancy intro that just went to sleep. Oh man. Where's my fancy intro? This is going off. This is going exactly as I planned. Mike Sachs is a humor author and satirist, better known for creating long form comedic worlds that parody pop culture, media history, and generational mythologies. His work often takes the form of artifacts from things that never existed, fake movies, invented subcultures, lost books, and forgotten movements, blending absurdism with sincere cultural observation. He has had many books, Stinker Lets Loose, Passable in Pink, and now Slouchers, which was released in 2020. And now at its 5-year anniversary, we've released the Slouchers Gen Expanded Edition from Humorous Books. Please welcome Mike Sachs to Talkward. Welcome, Mike Sachs. Thank you for stopping by today.
Well, thank you for having me. So I received this in the mail not long ago, and it feels and looks really, really good. I mean, it just feels like a paperback that would have come out in the 1990s when this this fictional Gen X movie, Slouchers, supposedly came out, 1993.
This book was when it was first originally printed, and you did it it was very small. It was like a paperback. I don't know what size you would call that. It was a tiny little pocket. It was like a pocket paperback book, and it was done in a real, like you're gonna find this in a an old vintage, an old bookstore in an old stack. It's gonna be yellowed, and it's a novelization of a film that never came out. Right. So you create these worlds like with Stinker Lets Loose. It's a 1970s CB, Smokey and the Bandit parody. Passable in Pink. It's a very John Hughes 16 Candles parody. And now Slouchers is a Reality Bites Slackers parody, taking these moments of pop culture, the grunge era, taking a movie that we all remember from our youth, and you're creating a memory that didn't actually exist in this world that didn't exist in a book that couldn't have existed by a screenwriter that doesn't exist. You made all these people up, and it's like mind bending to explain to someone, because I've had to do
I
it a
know.
bunch because I published your book, and I have to explain to people what this book is, and I start telling them about you and the layers of meta that go into creating the worlds that you do, and they're like, wow, that's a lot. I'm like, it is a lot, but Mike Sachs surprisingly laid back.
Well, I think what you just hit upon is why I'm not more popular. I think it's that, I'm not good being described in an elevator pitch. And to add another layer of meta, what you purchase here is actually a fake used book by someone in 2006 who is studying this book in a college course. So there's a meta up with fake. Now, I love buying used books that are marked up with notes, usually by someone who's really bored and doesn't know what's going on. So this book that you buy is being read by a bored college student in 2006 and being marked up with their horrible notes.
And the characters, I mean, you love these older movies. You love the movies from the 70s and the 80s and the 90s that created so many cultural touch points that we have. I mean, we kind of based as you look back on your life, and you look back on who you are as a human, your personality, where did that come from? And I can put together a playlist that someone could watch of a bunch of movies, and they could say, okay, that's Marty. That's Marty in a playlist. You can watch Ghostbusters, watch Clue, watch all these random movies and listen to these songs and this stuff, and you put it all together, and that equals this person's personality, because this is when they were figuring out who they were. Or this is when their personality or their sense of humor was becoming what it became as an adult. So for Mike Sachs, were these the movies that made you you, and that now have stayed with you and created this personality of Mike Sachs, the humor writer?
No,
Was
and
it
the movies
Smokey and the
that
Bandit? Like, did Smokey and the Bandit? Do you have a memory of watching Burt Reynolds running around in that car?
Yeah, I mean, that specifically, so I grew up in Virginia and I used to go to drive-ins with my parents, and those type of movies were really popular back then. I mean, it's hard for people to remember now that these were the top movies in the world, these fucking CB movies. And we're talking maybe 2 or 3 years. Cars and everything was Southern days pop culture. We're talking, what, 76 through 79 or so. I was really young, but I remember these movies very well. I remember laughing with the characters. These were the heroes of the time. You know, the Burt Reynolds, the truckers, going against the snotty government types. You know, the Nixon, Watergate, burglar types. You know, these were the American cowboys of the '70s, and I love those movies. Every one of these movies that I make fun of, whether it's '70s movies or John Hughes movies in the '80s. I put out a novelization called Passable in Pink, or this type of movie I truly loved at the time. I mean, I genuinely loved it. And in a way, it was the Gen X movies that really spoke to me because I was coming into my own in the '90s and took everything seriously, took myself seriously. And these movies, if you look at it 30 years later, which is incredible, it really sort of tried to for time generation. I don't think they did a very successful job, but everything I do make fun of.
I'm losing some of your audio, Mike. Are you on you're on your headset, but I'm not sure if I can hear you. Can you talk? Hmm. If you can go to your settings and maybe choose the microphone and the headset. Just cut out 1 second ago. And we have 2 viewers. So if any of the viewers who are watching this live on Facebook or whatever put a comment in the video screen, it'll pop up and we can actually see it. If you have a question for Mike Sachs, please ask a question of Mike Sachs. Ask about the books, ask about his writing process, and ask about his Substack called Mike's Substacks Sachs. Mike Subsacks, I believe, is his Substack Sachs. Let's see. I think, can I have, I can, your microphone says default Bluetooth. And your headset is the FaceTime, the headset. So can you go to your internal microphone?
Does that work?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Good. All right. What happened?
Let's just do
When
that.
did I get cut off?
I think we're talking about 90s.
Yeah.
What
so,
I
I mean,
remember the most
generally
about my favorite thing about Reality Bites, I believe it was either Reality Bites or Slackers. I can't remember which one had Winona Ryder.
that was Reality Bites.
And she thinks that she's all excited because she's using her gas card to make money. Remember? A big deal when I
Right.
was growing up.
Yeah.
Right. I didn't have any money, but what my parents did give me was an Exxon gas card. And what you could do, you could get the gas, but then you could also like buy stuff in the gas station, like Convenience Mart, and you can use the gas card. So that was like the life hack that I think they did in Reality Bites too, where she was actually buying people's gas using her parents' gas card, and then they were giving her cash. And I always remember that hack because I had a gas card like that too. So I would like buy people things at the mini mart of the Exxon station so that I could get money. And that was like my
Yeah. I mean, it
grunge.
just sounds so innocent in retrospect. I was showing this to my daughter, and she looked at it like it was something from the 1920s. I mean, it was pre everything, right? Everything exploded.
Yeah.
It's
interesting when you look at,
which was like a key to the kingdom, was power at that time, because what else did we have? We had nothing.
Yeah. when you look at, I mean, I watch a lot of old TV. So when you're looking at technology now and how the kids use everything now, and they think everything is, everything is smartphone. How did you possibly live before having a smartphone? How did the world even turn without having the smartphone? And I'm watching, I think they don't watch old TV shows the way that I watch old TV shows, so that they don't see how the world used to be with like a rotary phone or whatever. And I'm watching my old Columbos because I'm watching the old Columbos again.
Oh, I
And
love Columbo.
and he always just tells people where he is to get phone calls. So the phone will ring at the guy's, investment banking firm, and it'll be like, "Oh, Lieutenant, it's for you." And he's like, "Sorry, I gave them this number because I thought I would be here. Hope you don't mind." And they're like, "Oh, that's fine." So he would just give whatever phone number of whatever place he was going, and then they would call him, or he would just use a payphone and he would ask for the weather, and that just worked. And I remember going to the pool growing up in the summertime, and we had one payphone at the community pool, and everybody's parents would call the community pool phone, and it would ring, and you would answer the payphone, and it would say like, "Is Jimmy there?" And you'd say, "Hold on 1 second, Jimmy, your mom's on the phone." And then you just leave it hanging and you walk away, and then Jimmy comes, picks up the phone, and that's how we communicated, and it was fine. There was nothing wrong with it.
It was more than
We got
fine.
by.
It was also, it was a collective experience. I mean, everyone knew that Jimmy was needed, so Jimmy went to the phone. I don't want to make it sound as if it was some magical time, but it was, I was untethered. I was kind of feral as a kid, like a feral monkey, where my parents didn't know where I was, and I was fine with that. There's no point where I don't know where my daughter is nowadays, which is, makes me feel comfortable as a parent. But there was a freedom I felt as a kid, that I was literally off the grid, off the map, and you could go anywhere, anything, and you had that freedom. I don't know if that exists anymore.
I think it really let people like us develop and have our own little adventures and personalities and time away where things could happen and things could unfold, and you could have
Yeah.
a whole
Oh, yeah.
weekend, or you could have a whole adventure, or you could have a whole thing that was yours. No one knew about that thing that happened. Maybe it was a secret for the rest of your life, of some adventure you
Yeah.
had with your friends, and it wasn't something that you had to tell your parents because, whatever, and it wasn't their business. And you had that block of 7 hours or 10 hours or all this time that you got away, or maybe you're at school. And school was your own universe. School was your
Yeah,
own
right.
universe. You didn't
Yeah.
have to constantly be attached to anybody. And it was a gift. And I think reading your books that are really of a time, whether it's The Passable in Pink or Stinker Lets Loose or Slouchers, you take a moment back that is gone. And people now, there's so much nostalgia for this lost time that they didn't have. Like these kids now who are like 20 or whatever, they're looking at what we had in the 90s and the 80s and the 70s, and they wish that they had that kind of freedom because it is so
Yeah.
opposite, right? They are so the parenting is so helicopter parenting right now, where you have scheduled something for your child to do every hour that they're not in active school. There is something that they have to do.
Yeah.
They don't have that glorious just nothing time where they get to make up a an interest. These kids they don't find their own interests anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, and I miss those days, and I'm very grateful for having. I mean, I remember going down to Puerto Rico with my family over Christmas. Maybe 8. My brother was 6, and we were walking around San Juan at night alone. I mean, the thought of that happening now is just inconceivable. I mean, the amount of freedom I had as a kid was incredible. And when I started writing Slouchers, I didn't even think of it, but it was the last moment of time before everyone was connected. It started coming on later that in the 90s, and by not having the internet there, by not having cell phones in a fictional piece, it kind of freed me up in a lot of ways. But having cell phones kind of ruins things plot-wise.
Ruins
And
things for so many
comedy-wise, I
stories.
think,
Like you watch old TV shows and you're like, well, that problem would have been solved in 2 seconds with a text message. You know, the misunderstanding on Three's
That's right.
Company would
Yeah.
never have happened because they would have cleared up that
No.
misunderstanding in 2 seconds, and then there's no fun, you know, there's no
Yeah.
story, and
Right. I mean, most of the fiction was misunderstanding or not being able to reach people.
right.
Now that you can reach anyone at any time and get an answer to anything, it sort of takes the fun of writing away. So, in a sense, concentrating on this time period is is as fun, if not more fun, than talking about the current. Now, I mean, that's not to say I don't write about the current. I just wrote something called Stanland, which takes place in the present, and I just wrote a new audio comedy for Chris Elliott, which takes place in the present. But even that, I don't like dealing with cell phones, and it bores me. It's like white noise. I just don't care. You know, it doesn't do anything for
Well,
me.
how in the newest stuff in Stanland, how do you use technology to get the story moving forward, or do you ignore
Right.
technology
Well,
completely? What's Stanland about?
yeah. So that is about a magical world like Narnia that's messed up by this guy in Maryland. So what I did was I just had it so that the cell phones don't work in this world. That's it. It's as simple as that.
So you
Um,
solved it. You solved it just like that.
yeah, there you go. In this new piece that I literally just finished yesterday, I don't even deal with it. I mean, it has to do with it with an older guy and a younger daughter, and they're working together, and it's sort of based on me and my daughter, um, where I have no patience for technology, and she's fluent at all that stuff. So by writing a character who's not good at technology, I can sort of get away with not having to deal with that stuff. I mean, I was watching the latest James Bond this morning, and just the amount of technology that writer had to know about is just dizzying. I mean, I don't know, no way I could have been able to do it. And so by writing outs, by writing things like there's no cell phone reception in this magical world of Zingia, I don't have to deal with it,
Yeah.
and it makes it easier. Yeah, I can create the rules. That's why I love writing and not math.
What is the Chris Elliott project you're working on? I love Chris Elliott. God, Chris Elliott, Get a Life, Chris
Oh
Elliott,
yeah.
Letterman. Chris
Oh,
Elliott is one of the
yeah.
most underappreciated comedic actors. I just rewatched Groundhog Day over the
Oh
holidays,
yeah.
and God, that movie is so funny.
Incredible. No, he was a huge influence for me. When I saw him on Letterman, I had never seen anything like that. So he used to do these characters, the guy under the seats,
Into the Stairs,
that
yeah.
type of character, and he was as frightening as he was funny. And every character that I've written, I think, in my career goes back to the guy under the seats. That is available on YouTube. So if you're not familiar with this character, go and watch it. It's basically just Chris popping up during a Letterman show and making an excuse to talk to Chris, to his boss, David, and then things usually go wrong. And that combination of weirdness and scariness and comedy is something that I've tried to hit on in every single project I've done. So I was working on this project. Um, it's a follow-up to Stanland, which is available, put out by Sonar, which is 5 episodes. Bobby Moynihan is in it, Ray Seahorn, John Hamm, John Waters. It turned out really well. It just got voted
Amazing cast.
nominated for
You're able to
an
pull
Andy.
so many big names to do your project. I mean, they just love you. You're just like this whole
Well, they're
kind
not.
of
Yeah,
writer,
I
but
don't know
you're just
what it
big
is.
fans.
I think they feel sorry for me, to be totally honest, because I'm writing these things that make no money and people barely read or listen to, and I think they genuinely feel like I'm like a special case that they feel
We gotta give
bad
this
for me.
guy something. We gotta give this guy something to keep
Yeah,
going.
yeah. So on the latest one, it'll be the third. The second one comes out in a couple weeks. But this is a third in a series that take place in Maryland, in the Poolsville area, close to where I grew up. And I thought, what would be perfect for this is Chris Elliott. And I know him a little bit. I've interviewed him a few times over the years. He's the nicest guy in the world. And I reached out to him, and he was interested. So I'm hoping that I can record it with him up in Maine, where he lives, in the next few months, and it would be out, I think, next fall.
It's incredible. Great job. And I mean, you're really good at working with talent. Like talent respects you. You put out so many good books, and you are good at, you have a background in working in the magazine space, so you've had to talk to people, interview people. So you probably have a really good way about you dealing with people. Good people skills, I can
That's
tell.
actually no one's ever mentioned that before. That's really interesting. It's very accurate because I've worked at Vanity Fair and I've dealt with some very difficult authors over the years. Gail Sheehy, Dominic Dunn, um, and big name authors who were not difficult, Christopher Hitchens. But you're absolutely right. I mean, my job as on the editorial staff was to get along with people and to work with them to produce this thing. But that taught me, I think, more than anything, that it's even if it's something I've written, that you have to work with others to make it good. And by opening yourself up and by opening the piece up, it usually turns out better for it. They bring things to it I never would have imagined.
No, when you're trying to get somebody who is someone you want to work with, some talent that you want to work with for an audio project or even doing a live show, you guys did a live show for Stinker Let's Loose, or for Passable in Pink, you had a huge cast for the audio project for that. Is it finding one person who then helps introduce you to the other people, and like
Yeah.
is it just
Typically, for the
is
first
it just
one,
reaching out? Is it
it
almost
was
like
a
cold
friend of
calling one
mine.
person? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I
I'm
mean,
talking all over
for the
you.
first one, it was. The first one, I put out that novelization to a non-existent CB and trucking movie called Stinker Let's Loose, and someone got in touch with me, Eric Martin, and he said, "Can I have the rights for this?" And I said, "Sure, there's no problem. If you can get this made as an audio project, I'd love it." And he went out and asked John Hamm, whom I knew a little bit but not that well, if he wanted to play the role of Stinker, which was the main role, the Burt Reynolds role. And by John saying yes, then Ray Seahorn came aboard, and Andy Richter, and Paul F. Tompkins, and all these people. So that's really what you need, especially for the first one. You need someone being a mensch and saying, "Sure, I'll take a chance with you." And John Hamm was that person. And after that, it becomes easier because people know who you are and become familiar with your product. But it's that first time, and it goes for anyone, whether you're a director or a writer, an actor. You just need someone to give you a chance, and John gave me that chance.
Now you guys are going on fishing vacations, together, probably ski chalet things,
Yeah, yeah. John and I go camping every March in the
Very nice.
Ozarks.
Very nice. And probably, also because you're easy to work with, you're going to go to Maine to work with Chris Elliott. You're not saying, "Hey, you got to come down here to New York City or something and do this thing in this production." You'll go to them and get the project done,
Well, I'm
And I
lucky in
feel
a
like
sense because my wife is from Maine, so I'm up there anyway. So I know I've been to his place. I interviewed his father, the great Bob Elliott of Bob and Ray, the
oh well,
1940s, 50s, 60s comedy duo. So I interviewed his father maybe 15, 20 years ago for a book.
there's a reason why Chris is the
And
way Chris is.
yeah, there is. And also his daughters, both of whom are brilliant comedians. Um, but that's a good point that you put
Yeah,
out. It's like, I don't want to make.
is it is Abby Elliott is his daughter, right?
Yeah, and Bridie is his other daughter. He has two
Yeah.
daughters. Both are really super talented. Yeah, so I'm going to go up there and make it easy for Chris. I mean, why wouldn't I? I don't want to make it difficult for anyone. I mean, this is not, a major Hollywood production we're talking about here. But also, I figure, listen, if he's in his own house, he'll be more comfortable. Why send him to a studio and me having to talk to him over Zoom? I can also direct him if I'm there right next to him.
And how many people are in the newest project that Chris Elliott is going to be in? How many different voices are you going to need?
Well, it's brand new. I mean, I literally just finished it, and I wanted to get the main guy first, who is Chris. And there are a number of people that I wrote down that I would love to have involved. I would love to have Ray Seahorn again. but I don't know. It's just all so new. But I'm
And then
hoping to get the usual
the
proof.
Sandland, I saw that you had like a big billboard in Times Square.
Yeah, that was through Audible. Oh no, what was that through? I think that's through Amazon. But everything was like all that stuff is handled by Sonar, who I'm working with, a great small company out of Toronto, and they're really very easy to deal with, and that they handled all of that sort of thing.
That's amazing. I mean, the fact that you got a billboard Times Square. I mean, Stan, I saw the photo. I was like, oh my god, this thing is larger than life. It's amazing. Like it's incredible that I mean, I know you, and I know that you just bring these things to life. I mean, you're just like the little engine that you have a project and you want to bring it up, and then you see it on the
Yeah.
billboard, and you're like, Jesus, this guy is amazing. He's like this unstoppable creative force where he can take these projects,
Well,
nuggets of
I think
ideas.
I might be better. Yeah, it might be better in not in reality because I'm doing this stuff, but it brings in so little money. I feel like I'm a door-to-door salesman. It's like I do get these people involved and it's super fun, but I wouldn't mind playing with the big boys when it comes to like Hollywood productions. All of this stuff is just
Speaking of Hollywood production, so I think if there is a single of your books that you've done that are these made up pretend memories of a movie, I would say that Slouchers could be a streaming show or a movie, because I think in its heart it's a parody, but it's its own kind of a story that can kind of stand on its own as a project by itself. As a
yeah,
90s
no,
grunge,
I
I would
always
love to
envision
see
it
this.
being like that.
I would love to see this thing as a TV show or as a film, because I mean, I love the 90s, and I feel like it was such an important time of coming of age. Like it's a good coming of age story. It's sort of this cross between, oh, we're so independent, but are we performing for the camera? Have we become the product? We're
Yeah.
all slackers. We don't want to work. We're hanging out in this parking lot, and then one by one they all kind of dissipate. So like the book, these are questions from the book. What's your favorite fake scene from the fake movie that you created and then novelized?
Well, I want to go back to what you just said for a second because I
Okay.
totally agree with it. And like, there's been nothing. There's been no parodies about the early '90s that I've seen going after these slacker movies. It's sort of like no parodies of these CB and trucking movies. Maybe it was the type of thing where it hit so suddenly and so quickly and then disappeared that no one is doing it. Or maybe it's the type of thing where it's not nearly as big as the Star Wars, where you're not going to have a parody of that. But I think it's perfect for that type of comedy, where you could do a '90s comedy, make fun of the medium and the genre, while also introducing an actual story. But to go back to your last question, my favorite scene I think was the everyone dressed up as their favorite sexually transmitted disease or secondary sex characteristic.
What is the best grunge band name you invented?
Oh, that's actually, I thought I invented a good one. I later found out that it was actually someone had already invented it, and I'm forgetting the name. It'll come to me. It'll come to me.
Let's see. What's one object that defines the 90s grunge era?
I would say for me, it would be khaki shorts. I mean, that's all I wore. And
Like cargo? Like
chukka
cargo
boots.
shorts?
Yeah, cargo
I
type.
think also my Walkman. My Walkman was very much involved with my 90s adolescence. Like it was
Very much
I
so,
wore my
and my
Walkman.
cassette desk.
Yeah. My mixtapes where I'm taping the stuff off
Oh,
the radio.
the mixtapes
You
were
could
a
hear
huge
the
thing for me.
DJ on the beginning of the songs.
Yeah, I still have those mixtapes from the '90s with the DJs talking.
You know what my mixtapes have the beginning of? 99.1 HFS.
Oh, I forgot you grew up in that area. 99.1.
I was outside of
HFS.
Annapolis in Severna Park, and so I grew up 90s grunge. So
Yeah.
this movie is
Yeah.
like my entire, I graduated in
Yeah.
1997. And then I went to
Yeah.
school, freshman night, 1997. So like all of the 90s alt rock, which was amazing, was HF Festival, which
Yeah.
is the
Yeah. Yeah.
yearly music festival that everybody would go to. They would wait outside of record and tape traders to get tickets because you couldn't get them. And there's no online, there's no
Yeah.
website. We would literally sit in our cars all
Yeah.
night in a parking lot outside of record and tape traders to get tickets to the HF Festival. So I'm sitting in my 1984 Oldsmobile Delta 88 with it has the ceiling fabric that's coming down over your head because all the glue has come loose. So I would have to push it up with staple gun. I would staple gun the ceiling because it would come down like a cloud. And all my friends are all crowded in this car, and we're eating McDonald's. And like it was just that like grunge concert culture. I don't want to work. I don't want to be a capitalist pig. Fuck money.
Yeah.
And then you get old and you're like, God, I was so stupid. That's why I'm so poor.
Right, exactly. I'm right there with you. I mean, I grew up in the same area, and I listened to WHFS. I actually worked in a record store towards the late '90s, Kent Mill Records.
Camp
Do you
Mill. I
remember
know
Kent Mill Records?
Camp Mill music. Yep.
Kent Mill Music. So, and actually, Ray Seahorn also worked, not at the same time, or she worked at the Georgetown Kent Mill Records. I later found out, but yeah, I mean, and I was miserable during that period, but I look back and I'm nostalgic for it now because there was an innocence, like you say. I mean, I remember standing in line overnight at Sears at Montgomery Mall to get tickets. Right? I mean, that was the only way you could do it, and I just miss that. Maybe it's a nostalgia for a time that wasn't that great, but when you're young, everything's great.
I mean, I thought it was great. It was great. It was a good pre-technology time because there was so much stuff you got to do because it wasn't online. Like being online makes you now never be in line. And being in line is like an in-person event, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you're going to a store, you're going to a J.C. Penney's, you're going to Montgomery Ward's. Like you got to go to places and do things, and the radio
Yeah,
station's going to be doing an event at this mall, and you got to go to the mall, and you got to meet the guy, and then you can
yeah.
win tickets
You
and
did
all that.
things.
You did things. You left the house and you did things. There wasn't an option otherwise. So then you got to do it. And then the cell phones and the technology it's robbed the youth of that interaction. So they don't have to go and do things. They just push a button and it's like, oh, I entered this contest, or they go on the internet, or they go on Instagram and they DM and they win something. But back in the radio days, because I got to work in radio after high school, I was at Syracuse and I worked in the radio station. So in the summers, I'd come home to Maryland and I worked at CBS Radio on Good Time Oldies 105.7 WQSR, and then also that was a cluster that was with Mix 106.5 out of Baltimore. So I was in the promotions department. I was driving around a promo van. And I was going and doing stuff, and you'd meet the listeners, and it was wonderful and magical. And the internet was pretty new, so people weren't really. They would do like an AOL chat on the DJ show,
Right.
but that was pretty much it. And the projects that you do, and the projects that the reason why I like Slouchers, and the reason why I like all your projects is because they aren't current. They bring a time that was a while ago, but there's great stories, and that's why people love Stranger Things. That's why people love all these things that haven't been destroyed by technology, because you can actually
Yeah.
tell a story, and you can actually have this sort of adolescent coming of age story that isn't like poisoned by all these weird online problems that these kids have now, because it's really kind of mucked things up,
Yeah. Well, also looking at satirizing something now is really complicated. I mean, how do you satirize what's out there currently? It's easy to do the past. It's easy
You have to
to
satirize me
make
doing
fun.
this. Like what I'm seeing on this
Yeah, right.
screen, you have to make a joke about me doom scrolling and like what I'm looking at
Right, but
as I'm scrolling by, like some terrible ad, some terrible influencer thing. Like that's the most
I find that
accurate satirization.
boring.
It's boring.
Right, and things happened in the '90s for me anyway. I mean, like what you said, we had to leave the house, good and bad, and you want things to happen in stories. I don't even know how in 20 years, if I'm still alive, I would look back at this time and satirize it, except with sadness. It just seems like a very sad time. And I feel bad for kids coming up post-COVID in the Trump era and everything they have to deal with, because it was so much easier and better in a lot of ways for us as kids. We didn't have to worry about the madness taking place. It was out there. We just didn't really have to worry about it. But my daughter's constantly worried about what's happening in the world and what she sees.
Mhm.
And that's another thing. I mean, when you're tethered to the news 24 hours a day, it sort of takes away experiences that you can be having just living life rather than observing it from a distance.
Yeah, we're way too connected. Like, it's too much information. People don't need this much information to
No,
constantly
I don't think we're
distract them.
wired as humans to be able to digest all this information. I think it's
Yeah,
way
it's too
too
much. It's
much.
like you're opening up like a waterfall and it's just dumping on your face 24/7, and it's like you
Yeah.
have to take your head away to breathe, and it's hard to unplug from all the constant like news feed. And it used to not. I mean, we would have like one newscast and they would say what the news was. I was reading something and it said that I don't know what the year is. I'm going to butcher this fact, but there was a BBC newscast from like, let's say 1930 something, and it said, today is so and so so and so. There's no news today, and then they played jazz music,
I saw that. How
and then
great
you're
is
just like,
that?
God, how great would that day have been, where there was just
Yeah,
nothing worth reporting, so they didn't
right.
fill the time with just idle chatter, and they just
Well,
moved on
also
to
the fact
jazz.
they admitted to that. I mean, there are days when nothing is happening, but they would never admit that. Everything is breaking news. And how many breaking news stories can there actually be?
Very true. What's let's see. I want to see how Slouchers expanded number two, let's talk about Slouchers expanded edition. So this is a reprint of a 2020 book, and the new version has bigger text, which I thought was very important because the original book was very teeny tiny text. So when we put out the new book, I was like, I got to bump this text up because it's hard to read. So it's for our aging eyes, because the
Yeah.
people who are the audience of this book, our eyes are not as good as they used to be. So the book became a 6x9 size book instead of like a little pocket paperback. So everything is easier to read, and we expanded the margins a little bit so it's easier to read, and it's expanded because it's Gen X, of course. Um, so that was exciting. So I mean, and people have been getting the book, and I feel like
Oh,
people are going to
nice.
really attach themselves and they're going to enjoy the book. So there's going to be much more promotion for the book. But who would you cast if you're going to do an audio thing? If you're going to do a live action thing, do you think would be the biggest get for a 90s grunge? Maybe even just like a cameo if we found some people.
Yeah.
Um, if you
I mean,
wanted
it
to
would
get
have
like
to
an
be.
MTV, could we get like a Kurt Loder to pop in there?
Yeah. I was going to say, Kurt Loder now, I think, is 80 something years old. I
Isn't
mean,
that crazy?
he's no youngster, but I always liked Kurt Loder. I mean, it would have to be. There's so many characters from that time that people don't even know about, that they were commercial actors or even bands that weren't Pearl Jam and Nirvana, but that I absolutely loved. I mean, my dream would be to get a few tentpole character actors like a Matt Damon and a Matt Damon too. But then fill it with all these characters that I love, musicians, actors that may not be as widely known today, because it seems like very few things have been remembered, and that's with even little details like Orbit's soda, which was a soda that had colored pellets in it, total junk, but it was out in the 90s, and doing research and thinking about that was really fun. So, rather than getting big name stars, I'd rather just get interesting people that could bring life to this sort of thing.
You can also try to get Winona. Maybe she could do a little pop in. She looks very similar to how she looked in Reality Bites. Like
Oh yeah, I love
amazingly has
Winona.
not aged.
No, she's beautiful. And actually, I got Judd Nelson to do a character role in Passable in Pink audio. And that was Adam Scott was in that, and a bunch of incredible actors. I mean, it was just amazing. Bob Odenkirk was in that. It's funny with these things. You never know who's going to say yes. And when they do, I'm just totally shocked. I just can't believe it. It's just like, why would you do that? Why would you
I think
do that? Something nice for me.
the opportunity for soundtrack that's going to be amazing would be incredible. Like
Oh
if we
my
could get
God.
some, you know,
Incredible. I mean, I have a friend, Mark Rosso, who's a professional musician. He did Stinker Let's Loose, and he did the music for Passable in Pink. He didn't do the music for this. So that opportunity to be able to do the music for this would be incredibly fun for these people.
I mean, we could, you know, you can get old songs that are grungy, that are real grunge 90s, or you could get new artists who were doing covers of old 90s grunge, or you could just
Yeah.
completely make new grunge, or you would get real unsigned people that never made it who were just in the Seattle zone, because those are the
Yeah,
fun,
right.
you know, there was a CD that I lost and I could not find it, and it was making me very upset. And in the aughts, in the mid aughts, I was at I'd go out to Los Angeles from New York, and I would stay at a hotel called the Grafton on Sunset, which is this old hotel, and it was cheaper, but it had character. And they would give you a CD when you checked in, and it was a mixed CD of local LA struggling musicians, and it just said Grafton on Sunset, and then you just had this CD, and I had the CD in my car for my entire like forever. I just always had this Grafton on Sunset CD. I didn't know who any of these people were, and none of them made it. Like none of them made it. And but I thought it was an amazing mix of songs I'd never heard before. And I lost the CD and I could not find it. And I was trying to reassemble the playlist based on I found the case. I found the case that had the names on them, and I tried to locate every single track on Spotify or any of these places, and I could only find like 6 out of 12. Like weren't even out there. Like their music is nowhere. And then I found the CD and I was like, "Oh fuck, that's great. I'm so excited." And I get to listen to actually all the stuff, and I'd missed so many of them. And it's so interesting. So if we did something where you have to find some nice 90s Seattle grunge, there are so many undiscovered
I would love
gems
that.
that no one ever found them. But I'm sure that they're out there. Like we could find some old records or some old stuff and just like find some old music and put it in something like this, and then all of a sudden they could blow up. Like how what's her name song blow up on Stranger Things, and because it was like an 80s
Oh,
top 40
Kate
hit.
Bush.
Yeah, Kate Bush. Great.
Love Kate Bush. No, that's an excellent idea. And these type of characters that you mentioned, that's what I'm fascinated in writing about. People who release these songs and others who listen to them and like them, but then they disappear and they can never be found again. I mean, I've never written about success. It's always been about sort of failure. That's what interests me, the American failure. And that would be a perfect opportunity to reach out to these great musicians from the 90s, probably most of whom are working as accountants. And, God knows what they're doing, and bring them back and give them one final shot. I mean, that's a story in itself. I love that.
Yeah. They're at Home Depot. They're working at some regular job, and then they get
Yeah,
called back up to relive their grunge glory
back to the
days.
majors.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be fun. We'll have to do that. Um, well, I mean, you're an amazing writer. I want to ask people that are people that are subscribing to your Substack, which is called Substacks Stack. What is it? Mike Substacks. Is that right?
Substacks.
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 And
No,
this is a
Subsacks. I can't even say it myself. Subsacks. Yes.
so you have a 2 times a month writing advice newsletter that goes out that people subscribe to, and people should
Yeah.
sign up. Where do they sign up? MikeSachs.com?
Yeah, you can go to MikeSachs.com. That's my site, and that'll take you to the Subsacks. And it's advice, and it's also interviews of people that it never ran, were never published. and just fun things that you can. And I didn't want to overload people. Like I'm ADHD, so I don't like being overloaded with stuff. So I just figured twice a month, a little something that comes into your mailbox would be fun.
Have you taught humor writing to anybody? Have you done any classes?
Yeah, I used to teach up at Humber College in Toronto. There was at that time it was the world's only comedy writing major. Nathan Fielder actually came out of it. I never taught him, but I used to go up once a year as a guest lecturer. But my advice for people is to read interviews with those who have made it, to learn what to do and what not to do, and then just figure it out yourself. When people ask questions like, "What's your writing schedule?" That doesn't really matter. I mean, what matters is you figuring out what works for you, and that only comes from doing it yourself and doing it maybe for a while. It's like any skill, but I'm not really of the type where buy this book, it'll make you a better comedy writer. I think most of the time you really have to learn. It has to be on your own. You have to be your own teacher. And it would encompass reading bad things as well, knowing what not to do, what to avoid. But in the end, you have to teach yourself.
You opened for David Sedaris when he does his concerts. You have been an opener for David Sedaris many times. When are you doing that still? Is that happening? Does he have a tour going on? And when you do it, what do you read to open up for David Sedaris doing his big reads?
Right. Well, first of all, incredibly lucky. I'm friendly with David, and he asked me to do this occasionally. And it's a lot of work. I mean, that is writing to be read in a live situation. And that's not what I write. I write to be read privately, in terror, with someone reading a book or listening alone to something. So it's a whole different ballgame. And I don't know how he does it. I mean, I will do 2, 3 maybe in a row. And he does God knows how many, 30 in a row. And like I'm exhausted. I'm tapped out. It's not just reading. So there's no author at his caliber who's nicer to his fans. He will stay to sign the last person there, and this takes hours. So we're talking, this is a 5-6 hour night for 30 nights in a row. And I'm just not as social as he is. And I just, I'm more of a private person, insular, and it exhausts me. I love doing it, but not more than a few times a year. And I really do have to write something specific to for that event, because just reading something or from a script from Stanland or what, it's just not going to come across. It's a different type
when
of
you have to
writing.
write something specific for a David Sedaris type show. How do you, and do you have a couple of things that you've done now that you can do there that are made just for that event, just for live reading? How long does the piece have to be, and what was the most recent thing that you wrote to read out loud to a big crowd of people? It's a big crowd of people, very intimidating.
Big,
I mean,
big,
I see these crowds that you talk in front of. I'm like, wow, Jesus, that's huge.
Well, I would be nervous, but I'm under very heavy sedation, honestly, and nothing makes me nervous, which kind of scares me. So I have 10 minutes. Like he doesn't want you to go over 10 minutes or so. And with David, like he prefers you write something fresh on each tour. So it's not like I'm working off of old things. And the last thing I did was a hometown event in Bethesda. And it was I had been asked to give the graduation speech in my high school in May 2024. And it was the advice that I wish I knew at 17. And so for David, I wrote a piece, the things I didn't say during that graduation speech. It's more R-rated and more jokey. And it was in front of a hometown crowd. A lot of friends and friends' parents were there, and it was super fun. I just had a great time. That was the last I've done he's headed back out. He goes out the same time year every year. It's spring and fall, and he's headed back out. But who knows? I mean, he goes all over the world, and he went to New Zealand last year. It's someplace I wouldn't want to go to have to read necessarily, but I'm hoping he does ask me to do it once or twice this upcoming spring.
That sounds amazing. Well, you should come out to Los Angeles.
Oh, I would love to. I love LA.
Come out to LA, do something. We should do a thing for the book at Book Soup, which is the place
Love Book
on
Soup.
Sunset Boulevard.
Love it. Been there before. I did something
nice.
for
Very
one of my collections. Came out years ago. A collection of McSweeney's New Yorker pieces. It was called Your Wildest Dreams Within Reason, and I did a reading at Book Soup. I love it there.
Cool place. It's a real cool place. Well, thank you so much for chatting, Mike Sachs. Everybody has to go and buy Slouchers. It's available now at Amazon on Bookshop. You can buy it at Humorist Books, and it's soon to be a major motion picture and or streaming show. If we get our
Let's make that happen, man.
I think that would be great. And if you want to subscribe to Mike Sachs's Substack, his Stack Substack, go to MikeSachs.com for all information and see when he's going to be performing live, maybe at a theater near you. Thank you so much for talking today, Mike Sachs, here on Talkward.
I really appreciate it, buddy, and I appreciate you putting the book out. I think you're doing great work. There's so few places that are doing what you're doing, and I know others appreciate it. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much. I love doing it. It's great to work with talent like you. It's so much fun, and it's hard to say no to people when people send you great things. So I'm very like I have an embarrassment of riches with the amount of people that send me wonderful things to publish on Weekly Humorist or books to publish for Humorist Books or anything. So it's just like there's so many talented people out there, and it's great to be some place that people just keep on sending me stuff and we keep on putting stuff out because there's not enough independent publishers out there. And I forget about how much other places are censored. Like right now.
Yeah, I know.
People are getting told they can't do stuff, or people get shut down, or some corporations won't publish something. And I'm out here just like, I'm like, that's fine. I'll put that out. No, that's fine. No one's going to do anything about it. I don't care. So people send cartoons or people send whatever. People send short form humor on Weekly Humorist that's making fun of the regime. And I'm like, yeah, let's just, but let's go for it. Let's go for it. And I guess there's not that many places that'll do it, and it's
no, there isn't. And I know that for a fact. And this is why I've self-published the last few books. When it comes to humor books, no one is publishing anything of any worth. The great books that I grew up with, the National Lampoon books, the spy books, those don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
And if you go to a humor section in a Barnes & Noble, you'll see what the result is. It's usually pretty vanilla stuff. So what you're doing and you're allowing for, the talent is out there. It's just being gummed up by these corporations. So it's really important for people to support Weekly Humorist and other places like it, because this is it. I mean, with all the places to get published now online, the irony is get published in books anymore, or even great magazine style, National Lampoon, like your Spy.
Yep.
So those opportunities have been limited.
Well, we're going to keep going, Mike Sachs. We're going to keep pushing out the humor. So you have to keep sending humor, and you have to keep going with your stuff because you're a beacon of hope in a darkening society. So we all have to keep going and making our jokes, and we got to keep pushing. So great talking to you. I really appreciate it. Everybody go and buy Slouchers and go visit Mike on MikeSachs.com and read his Substack, Sachs. And I'll talk to you soon. And thanks for listening. This is Talkward. Thanks.